Hi, everybody. Joe Cioffi here. Weather in 5 days in 5 minutes. Just a reminder that the Joe and Joe Weather Show is tonight at 7:35 Eastern Time, as we'll be talking about a coastal storm offshore that will stay offshore, except for northeastern New England, and a couple of new weather systems, including a new storm coming out of the southwest. Weather in 5 is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. Your place to get salt, sand, and mulch. And of course, they've got everything you need to make sure you get through the winter should we get a winter storm around here. And that includes being Long Island's largest rock salt source. And they've got all the great snow and ice melt products like Mag, Ice Pellets and Flakes, and Pelado. 631-756-1125 for the best prices anywhere. OmniTrueValue.com is the website. I'm going to start today with a close-up view of the East Coast satellite picture, and what really stands out here is this storm system that is off the East Coast. Let me get that back to that close-up view. It's very impressive here. It's got a pretty well-defined circulation. Almost looks like a subtropical system, really. Although I'm not seeing any lightning strikes going on. At least not today. There was some yesterday. In the meantime, it is throwing back all this moisture up into northeastern New England, and that is resulting in snow and ice across Maine and parts of eastern New Hampshire. Even saw some snow down in parts of southeastern New England out of this. But this storm is going to move out, but it's close enough where you see these high clouds starting to come in from the west. They're hitting all this drier air that is in between that low offshore and the next system to the west. So that moisture is actually drying up as it heads eastward. And that's kind of going to be the case with this entire next storm system that is moving to the east. Here is the U.S. satellite loop. And I'm just going to give it a quick refresh so you can see the coastal low, what's going on in New England, and the next system here. At the moment, it's actually reaching its peak intensity, and it's kind of a train of weather systems that we've got. You've got the storm offshore, you've got this one here now headed to the lakes, and the latest in the systems in the west is now moving into the southwest, and that has resulted in some winter storm watches and warnings that are up for the southwest, winter weather advisories, high wind and wind advisories up as well. We also have new winter storm watches up from northeastern Colorado into Nebraska, northwestern Kansas. Once that storm kicks out to the eastward, a few advisories up in parts of the northern plains from winter weather to dense fog advisories, and we've got winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings for snow and ice for Maine. But everybody else in the east is fairly quiet. And we are seeing the beginnings of gradual change in the overall pattern. But I just want to remind everybody that we can go from a pattern, if you're looking for winter weather to gain a foothold in the east, it appears that we're going into we are leaving a pattern which is completely unfavorable for winter weather in east to one where it's mostly but not completely unfavorable for winter weather in the east. It's not an automatic that it's going to flip 180 degrees from what we have to something different. The radars right now in the Northeast, you see a lot of precip that has moved back into Maine and New Hampshire. Still some leftover light snows in parts of southeastern New England. It was actually snowing fairly hard around the Boston area this morning. Then there's a big gap. Then you have this system, which is mostly rain, by the way. Even up into the Great Lakes, it's mostly rain. It looks formidable on the satellite at the moment, but again, with that ocean storm to the east, this thing's going to weaken. There's really no room for a second storm system to evolve and strengthen as it moves eastward. So we're going to get what's left over of this on Tuesday, and then the next one is bringing snows in the Sierra Nevadas, a lot of snow in the Sierra Nevadas. They've gotten 200 to 300 inches of snow in some of the mountains here, including Donner Pass, for example. Well over, just shy of 300 inches of snow there. We're seeing precipitation down into Arizona and New Mexico, some snows up into parts of Utah, and also some rain coming into the Pacific Northwest and some light snows up in parts of Montana. So looking ahead, As we take a look at 7-day liquid precipitation amounts to take us into early next week, we're looking at about a half to 3/4 of an inch of liquid from several storm systems that will be in play uh, for much of the eastern part of the United States, the Ohio Valley, the lower Ohio and Tennessee Valley into the south. Anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a half. And for the first time in a while, we're not seeing 10-inch plus rainfall amounts in the West, particularly in California. It's a bit more tame for the next 7 days, anywhere from a quarter of an inch to maybe as much as an inch and a half up and down the coast, perhaps a little bit more up in Washington. The last 15 days have produced more rain than California got for all of than much of California got for all of last year. That's how impressive this pattern was in terms of dumping the rainfall that we saw. The snow probabilities over the next 72 hours. We're looking at the probabilities here of at least 2 inches in New England. It's 2 additional inches on top of what's already fallen in the northern half of Maine. And then with the next storm system, you see high probabilities from the Sierra Nevadas across Nevada itself into Utah, Colorado, much of Colorado except the southeast, and then extending northeastward from there into Nebraska and on up into southern Minnesota and Wisconsin. Relatively high probability of at least 2, and we'll jump to the probability of at least 8. And you see it here in the blue. That's a 50% probability of at least 8 from northeastern Colorado into Nebraska. This is why we have the winter storm watches up for that area. So it's basically a parade of storms that are moving east. You've got the first one that's offshore, the well east, southeast of Cape Cod, and the precip that's been thrown back into northern New England. We've got the second one for tomorrow that's going to weaken as it comes east. You got the third one in the southwest, which follows up late this week. You can see that low goes up into Wisconsin, a little bit of snow up in Minnesota. The showers with the cold front moving east just weaken as they head into the Northeast. I threw them into the forecast tomorrow. It's quite possible that many areas may not see much of anything out of this as it breaks up. The next low comes out, so we get a break day on Wednesday. There's still not enough cold air for snow, except well up into upstate New York and New England out of this. You see the darker blues coming out of Colorado and into Iowa. That low tracks up to northeast Indiana, northwest Ohio. Rain comes in during Thursday morning. Low redevelops just southeast of Cape Cod, so you can see that the snow is mostly central and northern New England, and then that goes out. And then another system's going to be coming out of the Gulf states late in the weekend. That is also going to bring mostly rain, at least according to the GFS, as that low takes a track up toward the Great Lakes and then eventually moves its way up into New England. So yeah, we get these weather systems are starting to move along and produce, but there's still not enough cold air, at least for another week to 10 days, with regards to for you snow lovers that would like nothing better than to see some winter weather come in here. Weather in 5 is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number, and the website is omnitruevalue.com. So we're going to leave you with this nice picture of that coastal storm and the beautiful weather that is going on from New York State southward down to Florida. And again, the Joe and Joe Weather Show tonight at 7:35 Eastern Time. Can't wait. Hope to see you.